following the previous episode. In the evening, Din Niem did not see Kwang Hai Lak in the sick room, so he hurriedly went to find her. Then, by chance, he saw Kwang Hai Lak standing sadly on the terrace. Din Niem could see her unease just from her tears. Then he took out a pen and wrote on her hand, "The surgery will be even more successful, and I promise to always be by your side. Why are you suddenly so good to me?" "Because she is..." "What?" "My family. We are about to become one family." Clearly, this was not the answer Kwang Hai Lak wanted. The next day, Din Niem took Kwang Hai Lak for a re-examination, but after seeing the examination method, she pretended to be ignorant on the spot. "Do I have to pull up my shirt? After all, you can see clearly." When the examination was over, she saw Din Niem even more embarrassed. The day of the surgery arrived quickly. Under the effect of anesthesia, she dreamed of going to school, clinging to Din Niem every day. Just as she was about to confess her love, someone suddenly called her name, and when she opened her eyes, the first thing she saw was Din Niem's handsome and radiant face. She suddenly felt a familiar, warm, and inexplicable feeling. The surgery was successful, just need to rest for a few days to recover.
Unable to sleep at night, she remembered how Din Niem cared for her so much this morning, making her unsure if it was a sign that he liked her or just the simple care of a doctor for his patient. But just as her heart was confused, Mother Kwang suddenly called her on video. At this point, she frantically thought of ways to hide the fact that she was in the hospital, and luckily met Din Niem checking the room. After learning about it, Din Niem immediately pulled her up to the terrace. "It's so late. Why are you still outside? It's dangerous to be alone like that. Where are your colleagues?" Just as Kwang Hai Lak didn't know how to explain, she hurriedly pretended to be eating barbecue outside. After a series of strange actions, she finally succeeded in deceiving Mother Kwang. Din Niem waited for Kwang Hai Lak to hang up the phone, and the two couldn't help but laugh. Kwang Hai Lak suddenly felt that becoming a family with Din Niem was not so bad, so she made a deal with Din Niem. She said that in the future they would definitely live well together. If they were to become one family, there was one thing he must do. His younger brother called out sister to try it out.
"Don't be too much. Let me tell you, I'm 3 months older than you. You wait, call your sister. Call your sister and I'll tell you that we're the same age. Don't you? It's not that I'm 3 months older than you for a while after." Kwang Hai Lak was discharged from the hospital, and Father Din prepared a lot of delicious food for her. It's just that they didn't know that Kwang Hai Lak had just had surgery and couldn't eat much. Seeing Father Din pick up a piece of braised meat for her, Kwang Hai Lak was very drooling. But just as she couldn't hold back any longer, Din Niem quickly picked up the piece of meat in her bowl. This action of his made Father Din very angry. Seeing that he was about to be scolded by his father, Din Niem hurriedly whispered, "Kwang Hai Lak, hurry up and make a mess. You don't eat rice anymore. You can't eat anymore." Then the two of them left the table in different directions. This action of the two made Grandfather and Grandmother Din very worried. Early the next morning, Din Niem suddenly heard his mother say, "Truong Bin An has decided to officially confess to Kwang Hai Lak today." This made Din Niem feel uneasy, so he hurriedly took this plan book and hurriedly ran outside.
Inside this plan book are filled with lines of my feelings for Kwang Hai Lak throughout the years. I was supposed to come to prevent the two of them from being together, but I didn't expect that when I arrived, I saw Hai Lak tightly embracing Truong Bin An. This made me feel regret, but it was already too late. Why is it that every time I make plans, plan and plan again, the outcome is always like this? After that, I marked that plan book and put it in the drawer from that day onwards. Din Niem always ignores Kwang Hai Lak. This makes Hai Lak very confused, so she decided to ask about everything clearly. "I want to ask, previously when we were at the hospital, you clearly cared about me. But now it seems like you're avoiding me. What exactly is our relationship?" "Our relationship is that of a doctor and a patient. I treat any patient the same way, including you," Din Niem replied. These words hurt Hai Lak deeply. She believed that it was all just her own imagination. Immediately, she turned around and left. Din Niem was very puzzled. Clearly the one who was hurt was herself. Why has it now become her?
Din Niem rejected confession of love. This was due to him accidentally overhearing her saying, "Getting Din Niem to like me is like snatching something he likes. That would infuriate him." This led Din Niem to believe that Hai Lak's confession was merely out of a competition with her friend. Due to this small misunder. Due to this small missed each other for 10 years. Back in her room, suddenly, Kwang Hee felt very uncomfortable, blaming herself for being overly affectionate. Thus, the misunderstanding between the two grew deeper each day. Kwang's mother noticed her daughter's poor mood, assuming she was troubled by work. She advised her to break to relax, suggesting she could also go back to her hometown for some mood relief. After that, Hai Lak began her journey, promptly following her mother's suggestion. That night, after bathing and cleaning herself thoroughly, Lak immediately fell asleep, completely unaware of another person's presence. It wasn't until the next morning that the two discovered each other's existence. "Don't pull my blanket, Kwang Hai," Lak dressed, acting as if she were not. "I'm not wearing any underwear, and there's no need to make such a fuss about it. Everyone in the neighborhood can hear you. So you should not be, even though you are a doctor. You have seen me during my medical examination, but the situation now is not the same." However, what they did not know was that all these events were orchestrated by their caring mother. Upon hearing that he returned to his hometown for a medical seminar, she arranged for him to stay in her old house. She then urged her daughter to resign and return to the countryside for relaxation, the main purpose of which was to foster the relationship between her two children. Then, Kwang Hee Lak had rejected Truong Bin's confession. Now, she was an unemployed and heartbroken girl. Kwang's mother hoped that Din Nyem could care more for Hai Lak after hearing this news. Suddenly, Din Nyem was filled with a glimmer of hope. Next, he started the task of boosting Hai Lak's spirits. Notably, he prepared breakfast for her. Din Nyem's hot and cold attitude left Hai Lak utterly puzzled. After finishing breakfast, the two went outside to play with a puppy. Just then, Kwang Hee Lak's close friend, Luk Lu Lu, arrived at her old house to find a pair of flip-flops and shoes that were more rotten than a dead frog. This embarrassing scene was fully witnessed by Din Nyem. Naturally, Luk Lu Lu felt extremely embarrassed. She then emotionlessly returned to her old path, pretending as if nothing happened. Din Nyem and Kwang Hee Lak, their minds muddled, observed this scene only to see Luk Lu Lu putting her shoes back on. Then she gracefully returned to Hai Lak. Coincidentally, Din Nyem was also there. "What is Luk Lu Lu doing? Why turn back all of a sudden?" Because it was too hot, the two girls sat under a tree eating ice cream. Suddenly, Kwang Hee Lak spotted a handsome man. Luk Lu Lu, not wearing her glasses, could not clearly see who was approaching. But after hearing Hai Lak mention that the person was a heartthrob, Luk Lu Lu, being a good girl like her, wanted to assert herself and start a conversation with this handsome man. "Are you looking for a homestay?" "I know of a decent one. Would you like me to recommend it? You're Hi-Fi, right? Sorry, I mistook you for someone else. Hurry, go." As it turns out, previously, when Luk Lu just got off work, she almost got hit by Hi-Fi. She intended to charge at him and say it out. Upon encountering the handsome face of Hi-Fi, Luk Lu Lu's heart beat wildly. Being a halfway famous person in the scene, how could Luk Lu Lu miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity?
That day, after finishing her meal, she invited Hi-Fi to her house for tea. However, the tea she mentioned was not simply just tea. "Never mind, we're not having tea. You really want tea?" Unintentionally, Luk Lu Lu was only planning to tease a little. But who would have thought Hi-Fi would genuinely develop feelings for her? Therefore, he madly pursued Luk Lu. To avoid Hi-Fi's face and his pursuit, Luk Lu Lu had no choice but to run back to her hometown to find Kwang Hee Lak. Upon arriving home, Luk Lu Lu pretends to have just woken up, her acting extremely clumsy. Unexpectedly, Kai-Fi straightforwardly exposes Liu due to the 10 cm high heels she's wearing, making it clear that she didn't just wake up. Hearing this, Luk Lu Lu doesn't bother to continue acting. She advises Kai-Fi to stop following her. Surprisingly, Kai-Fi replies, "I came here not to find you." Right then, Din Nyem returns. Now, all four of them realize that they all know each other. Then, Liu and Kai-Fi start arguing. The subject revolves around drinking tea, making Kwang Hee Lak on the side feel extremely awkward. Do they understand what drinking tea means? We don't want to know. Don't you have any intention? At least you seem happy while drinking tea. Don't I seem happy? Are you the only one who's happy? I am happy. But why does one have to be in love? Why should one be in love? We are all men, ask Din Nyem, see if being in love is happier or not.
I don't know. Din Nyem's ignorance indicates no joy at all. How would he know without being in love? How many times have you dated? Never dated before? Luke Liu Liu couldn't wait any longer, so that night she sought Din Niem to tell him everything.
That day before the party, while Kwang Shilak was preparing to confess her love to Din Niem, she was suddenly called into a corner by her rival to talk. Do you dare to bet with me? If your confession to Din Niem fails, you can no longer cling to him. Boring. Who would want to bet with you? Both Din Niem and I are excellent students, capable of entering medical university. What about your scores? Are you sure you can get into university? Isn't it shameful for you to cling to him like that? What do I have to lose? If I can pursue Din Niem, what if you could pursue him? If I can pursue Din Niem, it would be like me taking something you like, making you furious. However, Din Niem only heard the second half of Kwang Hilak's sentence, misunderstanding that her confession was only for a bet, so he rejected her in front of everyone. It was then Din Niem realized his misunderstanding about Kwang Shilak.
Luke Liu Liu continued. The saddest thing for Kwang Shilak that year was not being rejected, but rather the fact that he had given the shirt she had embroidered herself to Hua San San. Hearing this, Din Niem immediately explained. That year, after rejecting Kwang Shilak, he found Hua San San fallen into the swimming pool. She was the one who stole the shirt. Unexpectedly, she was scheming enough to show off to Kwang Shilak. No wonder why Kwang Shilak gave up on him like that. After knowing the truth of everything, Din Niem realized that he was the one who caused the 10-year separation with Kwang Hilak. In order to make up for what he had lost over the years, Din Niem decided to compensate Kwang Hilak, to show her his good side. Today, Kwang Hilak and Luke Liu Liu attended a class reunion, unexpectedly hearing a male classmate insulting Din Niem. In anger, Kwang Hilak taught that guy a lesson. She directly pulled off his wig. This was his biggest secret. However, by the time Din Niem arrived at the reunion, Kwang Shilak had made that guy drunk. Din Niem felt even more touched and infatuated when he saw Kwang Shilak defending his honor.
End of the film session here, everyone. See you in the next episode tomorrow. Thank you all for watching the video. Please leave your comments to help improve the next video.